All right, what's up, guys? Good morning. Welcome to another edition of Movers and Shakers Unlimited. I'm your host, Brandon Choi, host and co-creator. To this morning, we have another edition of Brandon's SDCC Peeps. Give me one moment while I introduce our two guests for this morning. First up, we have Marlene Estes. What's going on, Marlene? How you doing? Good morning.
Oh, good morning. I'm fine.
All right, and let me get my other guests. Chris Pabon, what's going on, sir? How you doing?
Doing awesome, my man. Brandon, thank you very much for having me on here this morning. Hi, Marlene, and a big hello to everyone watching right now.
Hi, Chris.
All right, so as I said, this is a special edition episode of Movers and Shakers Unlimited, and the whole reason for doing these special edition episodes is to really celebrate the communal aspect of Comic Con, which is awesome. As I said, with Comic Con, there are announcements, there are panels, there are awesome souvenirs, all of them great, mind you. But being able to share it, with folks that have that same passion for similar fandoms that you do is what makes it great as well, if not even better. So just to introduce you to the two folks that I have here to your left that you're watching, but to my right, I have Marlene Estes. Marlene has been going to conventions for years, probably longer than I've been alive, more than likely. But she actually has been going to Comic Con actually, she started going to Comic Con the same year that I actually started attending, even though it was unbeknownst to us. We actually officially met about, 10 years ago, but had been going, actually went to our first Comic Con back in 2009. But before we hop into each of those things, let me introduce also Mr. Pabon down here. Chris, I've known for about 4 years, and also both of the guests that we have today are local. Chris, when it comes to cons, I call him, a connoisseur. He is very knowledgeable when it comes to cons. As a matter of fact, so much so that oftentimes you probably have seen some of his reviews over on Movers and Shakers Unlimited, because I trust his opinions and his thoughts on various shows. But with all of those things being said, I'll let you guys talk about yourselves versus me speaking on your behalf. So go for it. Whoever would like to go first.
Marlene, ladies first, please.
Been going
Go ahead,
to,
Marlene. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
okay. As Brandon mentioned, I've been going to cons for years because I was a trekker first. So any trek convention there was, believe me, I tried to make it there. And I think I've met just pretty much all of the cast of the different Star Trek shows. So my son convinced me because he used to go to Comic Con to the conventions, and he said, "Mom, why don't you come with me?" He said, "I think you'll have fun." Well, I went, and I was totally, absolutely hooked. And I mean, to walk on the floor for the first time is uh, and it's almost every time I've gone, it's almost the same. It's just like a whole different world, my world. what, what I like and what I want to do, and I love books, I love TV, I love movies. I mean, even my dolls were there, you know. So that was nice, and the panels, of course, very informative. I think, and I don't remember what year it was. Brandon might, but it was the year that Warner Brothers introduced their stream that, and practically encompassed the Hall H. I mean, it was like you were there. It went all the way around us. It was spectacular to see. Um, I think one other memory that really I thought was unusual. Uh, Hall H holds like about 7,000 people. Brandon, is it more? Yeah, and
Like 6,500.
6,500. Okay, and I'm trying to remember. Uh, Gosh, what movie? Remember we went over to the right outside of San Francisco. They have a concert hall, sort of outdoor, and they took the whole Hall H over there. I don't remember
I
what year.
know the story.
Yeah.
I know exactly the story you're talking about. But I'm gonna pause it real quick. Chris, go ahead and go for it, and then we're gonna hop right into that
Okay.
story because that was a awesome memory of Comic Con. Go for it, Chris. Hold on, let me
And I do
go
want to
ahead.
hear that story. So thank you again, Brandon, and again, thank you for everyone who's watching. I have been going to cons for a long time. As far as how old I am, I'll just mention that I did see Star Wars when it first came out. So I'll let you guys, guess how old that makes me. So my first con was in the very early '90s, and it was with the great James Doohan, and it was fantastic. And it was in a small university auditorium. And since then, I've been to cons both around the United States and around the world. Special shout out to my family in Germany. Hello, Maddie. Hello, my Olivia, my goddaughter. And big hello to my friends in the Netherlands, Dave and to Johnny. And I've gone to cons that have been as small as 5 people, counting myself, and to cons where there have been hundreds of thousands of people, such as Star Wars Celebration held last year in Chicago. Um, I have been averaging over the last 4 to 5 years going to about 10 cons a year. Um, and a lot of them are local, believe it or not, because as the con economy has grown, and I do want to talk a little bit about that later on, here in the DC region in the early 2000s, we really only had like 2 cons that happened, and now we have about between Otakon and Katsucon and my friends at another shout out for my friends at Shore Leave and Farpoint. We average about like maybe 8 cons a year just in this region alone. So cons are a growing business, and as Brandon mentioned, I like to look at what works with cons and what doesn't. And of all the cons I've been to, I actually had not yet been in person to San Diego Comic Con, but since this is the year of the virtual con, I am attending now, and it's a big change of pace from having to wait hours to get into a hall, really not knowing if I'm going to get in there or if I'm going to go into the overflow room, to suddenly be able to sit on my couch, turn on the TV, and watch the panel about Upload. So, it's different. I think cons are never stationary. I think they're evolving, and we'll talk a little bit more about that later. But just like Marlene knows, I mean, things that started out very small, university auditoriums, very small hotel rooms, have grown to become a huge expanding business with people attending in the hundreds of thousands.
Absolutely. So going back to that story, Marlene, I believe you're referencing the 2016, no, not 2016, I'm sorry, 2015 Comic Con, because that was the year that they had a panel for The Force Awakens. And following that panel with The Force Awakens in Hall H, unbeknownst to everyone there, J.J. Abrams, at the very end of the panel, had announced, maybe it wasn't J.J. Abrams. So much has happened within those 5 years in Hall H. But at the end of that panel, the announcement was made that they had an impromptu music performance for all of those that waited in Hall H. Because oftentimes with Hall H, for those of you that are seasoned season con goers, as you know, and maybe this is also some information for those of you who have never been to Hall H. A lot of times, the studios really like to reward those that really have put in the commitment, the effort, and the time to be in that venue. So perhaps they'll give out like certain souvenirs that you only get by being in that Hall H panel, or they may have some type of performance or some type of special gift for fans. So that year they had that music performance, and it was like out by the harbor, just outside the convention center. And they had like an orchestra that put on a performance of all the thematic song score from Star Wars. And they also, at that performance, for those that were attending that performance, actually gave lightsabers to everybody. So you had that whole experience of 6,500 people all holding like lightsabers while they were listening to Star Wars music. So it was pretty cool. So I believe that's what you were referencing, Marlene,
Yeah,
that year.
because the sheer logistics of getting that many people moved over move over to the harbor for the concert was, I mean, really, really well planned. And it really was a nice thing. I still have my saver, by the way. I haven't gotten rid of it. Um, and I think they also had fireworks afterwards.
They did have fireworks.
Yeah,
They did have fireworks.
you know.
Yep, they definitely had fireworks. So yeah, you just have situations like that are extremely memorable, that you continue to remember even as you go to cons for years to come, because I can still think back on a lot of those years of Comic Con and remembering a lot of those things. Case in point, I remember, and I still have them, talking about all these cool souvenirs. I remember when they had the Captain America First Avenger screening, and they actually had 3D glasses. Since it was a 3D screening, they had 3D glasses that are in the schematic colors of Captain America, and it actually says Captain America First Avenger on the 3D glasses. For Fright Night, I don't know if you remember. I'm trying to recall if you went with us. I don't think you did, because I know you don't really like horror movies. I think Lisa, your daughter Lisa, went with me. Lisa and Phil went with me, but they had 3D glasses that were customly made, and they actually had a coffin box for the 3D glasses, to with the whole theme of vampires or what have you. So just cool things like that happen, that are unique every single year that you attend. But with that in mind, I wanna, and this is a little tricky for you, Chris, because this would be your first quote unquote Comic Con, or would have been your first in person Comic Con,
Right.
but at least next year that should be the
For
case.
sure.
But for you, Marlene, can you talk to that first year of Comic Con for you, and that best memory from that first year?
The first year, oh my God, Brandon, it was so long ago. I think it was 2008. Uh, and
Was it 8 or 9? I'm
huh?
trying. Was it 8 or 9?
Or maybe it was 9. Okay. And I don't think that we attended all the days. And maybe we did, but I, it was Philip and myself, and the lines, back then weren't as long as they are now. So you could literally walk into Hall H and you have a seat. Not so much waiting in line for things. And I do remember that. And like I said, I was so impressed. I said, "Oh well, I have to come again next year." And back then, you could get your tickets really late. I mean, you could go online and then you have your ticket. As the years went past, it got harder and harder, and so eventually they went to the with the lottery type thing, which fortunately we have been able to make, because not only my oldest son but also my youngest son uh, started to join us. He's more with the anime and that sort of thing, but he thought he would come. And I used to sew, and he decided that he wanted to be Static Shock. And so we got the picture, and I pieced together a costume so that he could cosplay. And so it wasn't in 2009. I think it was 2000. What is this? 2019, 18. Was it 18, Brandon, that Mike first went
18,
as Static Shock?
18,
Okay.
yeah, yeah.
And he was a big hit. As a matter of fact, his costume was voted as one of the best at Comic Con. So that really made me feel good because, I made it for him.
And he got placed. He got placed in some promotional video or something. I'm trying to remember. I can't remember if it was Entertainment Weekly or one of like those major outlets, like out of Variety or Entertainment Weekly. Like they took his photo and had him in their Comic-Con database
Oh,
for when they took pictures.
yeah. As a matter of fact, they even showed it in the theaters. And so, we always said, Mike, well, if we don't ever go again, you have done something that most people don't do when they go to Comic Con. So that's a good memory. And I can't tell you guys back there, in the early part, this guy here, Brandon, used to drag me around to interviews, and I'd help him out and everything. And this was before Jerome, and that was fun too because I got to meet so many people, uh, and it's just something that you have to experience it really, um, and that's why everybody wants to go. You know, just to be there and the vibes and with, oh gosh, it's just overwhelming. There's so many people, and they have expanded to different venues and what have you. So the only thing now is, trying to see everything that you want to see. It's almost impossible to do, because trying to jump from the convention hall to jump over to the hotel to see something. I mean, really. And even those who don't get tickets, I think you could still go and have a good time with the stuff that's outside the convention, because there are other things that you can do that you don't have to have a pass for. um but oh yeah, and by the way, don't know if you can see this. Can you?
Oh yeah, your Game of
Yeah,
Thrones
yeah.
back.
One of
Nice.
the goodies from Hall H, in the HBO panel of Game of Thrones, and they always gave out great swag during the years. Um, Also, the years doing oh gosh, what's that show with the werewolves? I mean, not the werewolves, the vampires.
True Blood.
True
True
Blood.
Blood.
Yeah,
Back when it was on
yeah.
TV.
That was always a nice thing that HBO would do. You always got a T-shirt and what have you. Um, uh,
But I was gonna say, Chris. for and with that in mind, like out of everyone that I've had on the special edition episodes, you are in a unique position. Like I said, this would have been your first year, but now getting still a feel in a way, getting a feel in a way of what the show has to offer. How has the con been for you, the virtual edition?
Want to follow up on something Marlene said about like the experiences at a con, and as the saying so is, you never forget your first, and I think this also applies for your first time at a specific convention. Cons bring you, as everyone who's watching knows, like some great memories. A couple I will refer to before going to San Diego Comic Con. For example, when the first time I attended Emerald City Comic Con in Seattle, I was there for Patrick Stewart's panel. I was lucky to get in. I only waited about like 3.5 hours. And, he made the announcement very casually of, and in a month from now, I'm going to go film X-Men Days of Future Past. And of course, the crowd erupted. When I attended Star Wars Celebration for the first time, I was walking through the exhibit hall, and suddenly I hear a voice saying, "You're in the wrong universe." And I turned around, and it was Deborah Riley, who was the production designer for Game of Thrones, who I had met here in Washington, D.C. at the Smithsonian. And all I could think of was like, people would be lining up and should be lining up to hear you talk. She was dressed as an Imperial Stormtrooper, Imperial TIE pilot, excuse me. So shout out to her here. But now, as to my favorite moment so far at San Diego Comic Con at Home, that happened last night because my spouse isn't as into cons as I am. But I told her, hey, we have the opportunity to watch some of the panels tonight. And one of the panels is an Upload, a show on Amazon Prime that she's a big fan of. And she was like, oh, let's watch that. And then I told her we have some other things going on. And she's like, let's watch that too. And she's not huge into watching TV, so this was kind of unusual. And we sat down and we watched Upload and the Upload panel, and she was very animated, making a couple of comments about how she thought the moderator was talking too much. She wanted to hear more from the guests, but she was very into it. And at the end, she's like, "Let's watch more of these." So, this is a big memory for me that because the format has allowed people to partake of it inside their homes, my own spouse, who is not really into this, is all of a sudden very much into it. So that's going to be my first memory of San Diego Comic Con at Home. Will it be the last? I'm not sure. I have 3 more days to enjoy the con, and I look forward to exploring new experiences. I think this format is really great for those people who may not take the initiative to travel to San Diego to experience it, but yet once they get a taste, they may find they like it.
I was gonna say definitely. So with that in mind, that's actually a great segue into the next. What I was gonna ask next is in terms of the itinerary that you guys have made for yourselves for this week for Comic Con at Home. Can you speak to that? And actually, Marlene, I'll hop over to you since Chris, you alluded to it just now on your end.
Okay. I just glanced over it. I haven't made up my mind, but um, anything to do with the ladies, I'm there. And because they every year there's a kick-ass woman panel that I love. So that one I'm looking forward to. I'm not sure if that's on the schedule, but I hope so. I think I saw that. Did I, Brandon?
Yeah, there is. There's one I believe with Charlize Theron
Uh
that
huh.
is that they normally have every year, like Entertainment Weekly related one of like all the dynamic like female, all the heroines that she's had an opportunity to play, like action packed characters. But they have another one, and I think they have one with her by herself, if I recall. But there's another one that has like an ensemble of actresses on it.
Mhm. Yeah. Well, I'm definitely looking forward to that one.
Cool. Well, have there been any ones, whoops, I was going to say, have there been any ones that you guys have seen, um, in the last couple of days that you guys can talk to, perhaps between Wednesday and Thursday for either of you? Like specifically that stood out?
Mhm.
Perhaps you, Chris?
Well, Brandon, let me start off by saying that I am already behind on the panels that I want to see just from yesterday alone. Because as I mentioned, we watched the Upload one, we saw a little bit of the Star Trek one, and I still want to see the Boys panel. I'm a huge fan of the Boys.
Yeah, yeah, that was great.
Um, uh, I want to watch the panel done by Jimmy Palmiotti and Amanda Connor, who are two comic book artists who I had the pleasure of meeting at AwesomeCon. Shout out to my friends at AwesomeCon. I met them last year, and I really look forward to their panel. Of course, as Marlene mentioned, I want to see the panel headed by Charlize Theron. So I am already behind, and it's not going to be for me just watching this weekend. I imagine it's going to take me at least until next weekend, and maybe even a little beyond that, because the content is so vast, and there's so many things I want to see, but there's only so many hours to the day, and this is the sort of thing that I don't want to rush through. And again, now that I have the interest from my spouse saying, "Hey, I want to watch this too," it might take me a little bit longer than this weekend, but it's such good content that yeah, I am totally like in the tank for watching it this weekend and beyond.
And I was going to say it's interesting that you bring that up, that dynamic, because had you gone in person, you wouldn't have that luxury. You would just have to choose. You would just have to decide which one you were going to.
Exactly, and when I go to other cons, it really is a choice that oh my god, I want to see this, but I want to see this. How could the organizers put these together at the same time? But when you put together schedules for con, you have to sometimes make the tough choices. Not only as a programmer, but also as a person who's attending of what to see. And this unique format kind of takes solves that problem.
Yeah, and so like with that in mind, it's going to be interesting, and I've commented on this many times on these special edition episodes, is what Comic Con will do following what they gather from observing the interaction that fans had to this virtual edition. How much will still continue to be virtual? Maybe for certain types of panels, it will be strictly virtual. For certain types of panels, it will be strictly live. Who knows? Maybe in situations where you have because this has happened where a studio, just based on the timing, or that the cast of actors, just based on the timing, they may not do a panel. They may just do a signing. Maybe now that we have this element of a virtual con, they may still do a panel. They just may not do it live. They may tape it ahead of time just to say that they have this programming available. Perhaps they'll make it available in Hall H for people to view, or it'll be on a personal basis like now with your PC, with your computer, your tablet, your phone, what have you. So all those questions, I'm very fascinated to see what becomes of SDCC following this unprecedented year. So with all of that being said, can you talk about? And I'm gonna hop into it really quick because I know we were just talking about itinerary, and maybe it's still relatively the same answer. For our best Comic Con memory. Um, I'll give you a second, Chris, to think that over, because I know you're still in the midst of it being the first year of experiencing everything. I'm gonna pass it over to you, Marlene. For you, out of all the years that you've attended Comic Con, what would you say? And it might be hard. It's almost like picking, who's your best child. Like what is your best memory?
Gosh, there are so many. But I think I will mention a more recent one last year. Uh, I sat in on the Spider-Man animated screening, and the young man who played Spider-Man was there on the panel, and of course the other people who are associated with the show, and we got to see it, and I was totally blown away. I said, "Oh man, this is really good." And it was interesting to hear the young man talk about it. So, doing the Academy Awards, when they won for best animated film, it was mind-boggling to me to sit there and I'm thinking, did that young man think that he would be standing on that stage today when he was at Comic-Con, you know? I mean, to me, even if he didn't feel like it, I felt great about it because I thought it was really good. It was really good, and it really, for once, it really deserved what it receiving that Academy Award. And like I said, I'm old, and so I only remember recent stuff like that. But I just thought, you know, it just gave me a good feeling to know that I was one of the first people to see it. And like I said, I was totally impressed by it, you know. And I, you know, I'm not usually a great fan of animated filming, but that one was exceptional. And I'll never forget, I got to see it first at Comic Con in Hall H. Yeah.
Well, Brandon, for me, quite possibly, it's having now the ability to get up and if I have to go take a phone call or go to the bathroom and not worry about A, being able to get back into the room, and B, not worry about trying to find my seat again in a vast hall of darkness. Because let me tell you, it's pretty easy to find my couch in my basement right now.
Gotcha. Yeah, absolutely. I'm gonna give you a memory, Marlene, is I want to say, yeah, it wasn't last year. Last year I was fortunate. This is the first time it's ever happened in all the years. Well, no, it's not the first time it's happened, but at least for that particular programming day, it was the first time it happened, and that was being at the very front of Hall H on Saturday, which is like the biggest, perhaps the biggest panel day that you can have at Comic Con, because normally if DC is there, if Warner Brothers is there, that's when they have their group of panels. They have it on Saturday. Same goes for Marvel. They have their whole lineup of panels on Saturdays. Normally Friday you'll have like your major TV panels, your Game of Thrones, your Walking Dead, what have you. So that Saturday, as I said, I was at the very front and was able to take in all the programming that was available there in Hall H. And I guess I remember it even more vividly because I got a kick out of it, is that I had an extra seat. So whenever with all my SDCC peeps, we are always in communication with each other throughout the week, even when we're in panels. So most of us were all in that room, but again, it's a huge room. It holds like 6,500 people. So we're like on Messenger, chatting each other. Hey, I have a seat available. Hey, can you hold a seat for me if I'm not in the room? That type of thing. So I had a seat available. So I hit up Marlene. I was like, hey, Marlene, hey, were you interested in checking out Star Trek up front? Because I do have a seat next to me. And Chris, if I could tell you how quickly Marlene
See, zoomed over there, right?
like immediately. So she was up there, but I got a kick out of it too because I know how much Marlene loves Star Trek, so it was cool to really see you, Marlene, like enjoy that panel, but to be able to enjoy it all the way up at the front. Because most of the time, like we're in the middle of the room, we're in the back of the room. All those years that we've attended, because a lot of times we'll end up sitting together. That you were able to enjoy that and take part of that, so that was pretty cool. So that thinking about when they had Black Panther that year, when they had the panel for Black Panther that first year was amazing. And what they showed at that panel, the trailer, people went.
Like crazy.
I'll keep it PG. They went crazy.
They did.
Absolutely nuts.
Yeah.
So that Black Panther trailer, as I said, the Days of Future Past when they had that, because I'll never forget that year. Chris, that was a year where within a 1 hour within a 1 hour span in Hall H, because they had a DC lineup of panels and they had a Marvel lineup of panels, we ended up getting, I'm trying to remember, it was Batman versus Superman, it was Suicide Squad when they were still showing things for Suicide Squad. It was Days of Future Past. It was it was just like a crazy, ridiculous lineup of like panel after panel after panel. And at that point, like they hadn't really showed a lot of footage from any of these films. Oh, I remember what it was. It was Days of Future Past, and it was the first Deadpool. That's what it was.
Yeah.
They hadn't
Yeah.
shown anything from Deadpool yet. So like I'll never forget that year. So things like that are always memorable, and also talking to, and I was talking about this yesterday, the idea that in so many instances, not necessarily with you guys, but with some of the other folks that I've had on here that I've coined as SDCC peeps, is how fortuitous our meeting was, because under different circumstances we probably would not have met at all. There were so many instances where I might have not gone to a certain event that I ended up meeting this person who ended up becoming, a great friend that we continue to hang out at San Diego Comic-Con, and vice versa, where they may not have gone, they may not have even attended that year, but lo and behold, just by fate, we ended up crossing paths and getting to know each other. So that part of it's really cool. But with that being said, guys, I'm gonna cap it off right there. Thank you guys so much for coming on. As I said, all my
No
SDC
pleasure.
all my SDCC peeps I consider friends. More important, I consider you guys family. So thanks for coming on. I'm gonna pass it on to each of you just to give an idea of where folks can find you. I know you guys are not super big with social media, but go for it.
Okay. Chris, I look forward to meeting you. Ah,
Okay, all right. Go ahead, go for it, Chris.
Oh, thank you. My Instagram is Verde Cosplay, VERDE Cosplay. I'm also on Facebook. You can find me at Verde Writer at gmail.com, and you can also find me on Flickr.
All right, cool. There you guys have it. So again, I want to thank, and I didn't even get into the nicknames. So I want to thank Comic Con Mom up here. Thank you so much, Comic Con Mom. I want to also thank Cap down here on the bottom here. So again, thank all of you guys for watching this episode of Movies and Shakers Unlimited, this special edition episode of SDCC Peeps. You can find us on Facebook, which you obviously are watching now. However, you can also find us on Instagram at Mover Shakers Unlimited. Find us on Twitter at Move and Shake UNLTD. You can find me on Twitter, Brandon Troy ENT, and Instagram, of course, at Brandon Troy _ENT. So with all that being said, be on the lookout for some of our other special edition episodes. We still have a couple of more to go this week. And I'll also be keeping minutes on some of the programming that's happening in this virtual edition of Comic-Con at Home. So be on the lookout for that. Thanks again for watching. Be safe out there. See you soon. Bye.